Today, I want to share something that recently came to my attention, and kind of like, oh, I never thought of that type of moment. And it's about curiosity, but specific kind of curiosity. So curiosity about other people. And I think I spoke in one of my previous videos that I used to. In fact, I'm sure I did. Yeah, in relation to listening, which is my far more natural. I'm designed to listen and I'm not designed to talk much, or rather, certainly not to talk for the sake of talking, like most social interactions or social etiquettes are, like just chatting and, asking questions about one's health, one's life, one's what your day, just general kind of chit chat. So I'm not designed for that. And that's something I only had kind of had it certified when I discovered human design, but certainly experientially all my life, as you would. I mean, so one of the ways I dealt with that was that I would just ask questions, ask other people questions about themselves, and so that would allow me that would align me with my design without me knowing that's what I was doing. So I would be listening and not talking much. And talking, or rather, even if I was engaging, which I would occasionally or even regularly, it would have been on the topics that, since I ask questions that are not so trivial or are deeply more meaningful to me, type of thing. So that would have been aligned with my design because I'm talking about meaningful stuff. I mean, for me, meaningful. So I was doing all that, like I said, and I remember. So that was my whole life, and then 40s arrived, and I was a coach. I trained to be a coach and an NLP practitioner, so I was doing that. I had clients I was working with, and one of the clients was sort of a friend of mine who we did a bit of coaching together, and then we stopped because, like I said to her at the beginning, friendships, or anyone you actually know in personal life, it's not advisable to coach or to do that kind of therapy work with. But she was happy to go as far as it can take us, and yeah, it took us to a point. And it took us, but we covered one area, which was probably, I feel like it was the epiphany she had through the coaching with me. We had about probably 4 sessions, 5, 6 maybe altogether. And and it was when I asked her, I can't remember the exact name now, as in the exact way I asked, or as in what exactly I asked her, like the words, sorry, verbatim. But it was along the lines of, are you curious about people? How curious are you about people? In fact, it would have been that kind of open question being coaching, right? So it would be, how curious are you about other people? And I think it was in relation to, anyway, it doesn't matter, privacy, confidentiality with the client. Let's leave it at this, even though no one knows who it is. But anyway, and she was like so stunned with that question, which is always a sign that you hit a nail on the head. And it reverberated from, as I remember, like for quite a while now. She would come back to me even after we stopped coaching it. She would come back to me, mentioning it, like how it's just opened up a whole new world to her to kind of explore within herself, right? And yeah, it kind of always stuck with me, the whole curiosity thing, that if you don't show curiosity to other people, then it's like they have no reason to stay with you for too long or to engage with you for longer, because curiosity is kind of a way of showing you care about them. That would have been my thinking, or rather almost like assessment of social interaction, which I still think it's valid and it stands. However, I've noticed, in fact, it's just such a solid fact in my life as of, let me think, probably last 3 years, I would say, where I just lost that curiosity. Or in other words, I'm just not curious about other people. So let me backtrack a little bit. So first I was using my curiosity, which I felt it genuinely. I certainly felt it was genuine from my end. So I used it to it was like a trick that I didn't know I was doing. I didn't know that was a trick I was performing for myself so that I stay aligned, because it felt good. It really felt good to be asking questions. Because, like I said, I was putting myself in the place of what I was designed to be, which is a listener, and also just speaking important things like big topics, big themes, not just, like I say, trivial. And so that was the only curiosity I knew, rooted in these dynamics, and for the reasons, like I say, just a way to keep myself aligned without knowing. Then the other piece of curiosity that kind of ran parallel to this was, I was always, and still am, an avid reader. And I mean, for a long time it was fiction. I mean, in fact, I will go back on that topic in another video. How that's actually good for personal growth, work, shadow work, and just general self discovery. Self exploration is the word I was looking for. So, fiction, yes, in the earlier, in the youth times, as it were, but sort of certainly from 30 onwards was a lot of self help, philosophy, and all kinds of other non fiction books that are always around, how to art, anything, that was helping me understand myself better. So, astrology, obviously, sort of being the biggest one. And those kind of modalities, numerology, what else did I, coaching, NLP, anything, like I said, that would help me get the most out of myself, and so that was that kind of curiosity. And like I say, I was insatiable. It was just like I would binge read. I would discover something and I would binge read till I understood everything about it, and in relation to myself, my own experience, and exhausted the topic, the theme, and then I would move to another thing, because that wasn't the reason because I want to move to another thing, but it would be something that it would just come up. I even have a break sometimes between those, throws of passions of throwing myself into this one topic or one modality. But yeah, so that was another form of curiosity that I had for much longer, probably up until a year ago, maybe even less. So this other curiosity, this one that I just talked about, was about looking to other people to show me my way. And I said occasionally I will be bringing astrology. So I have almost all planets either retrograde, and the ones that are not retrograde, that can be retrograde, are in the 12th house, which is not exactly the same thing, but it kind of warps the planet. And retrograde doesn't warp it in the same way, but it makes you're kind of compelled to figure out how to do the planet your own way. So it's all this maverick stuff. So, so in my chart as well. And so I was learning. I was going to, but in order to figure that out, you check everyone else's, or at least that's how I was doing. And I remember reading in some astrology books that is kind of how retrogrades work. You sort of first look at what's out there, and then you decide within that what can you use for yourself. And essentially it boils down that none of it really applies to you, to me rather, but it's almost like I had to go through that elimination process to be sure, and yeah, I'm supposed to be sure that isn't. It's like, and I used to as a kid go like, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want. It's that kind of thing. It's like I go somewhere, try, I don't want it, I don't know, so I'll try something else, not because I want it, but I want to try it, and then to know whether I want it and whether I want to adopt it and do it or whatever, practice it and whatever. So, and then, so it was about learning, right? Where with people was about just aligning myself, and that was also helping me learn about myself, but it was more like I just wanting to do social interaction my way. And so back to this other one, it was about learning, and then it dried out. Occasionally would dry out, but this has been the longest dry spell I had, and it will probably come back in another form, but I have exhausted, certainly astrology. I haven't been able to read it or watch, and I used to binge on astrology. Like I say, it's the biggest thing for me for so long, for decades. Now I just can't. It's just I haven't got him. It's like I'm beyond oversaturated, meaning I'm now, there's nothing new. I'm sure I can find new stuff, but I'm not interested anymore. It's like I collected everything and more, and so much more than I needed, but I needed to do it before I knew I needed it or not needed it. That I now only just have stuff to give. So there's that piece of curiosity, and that's why I stopped. But back to the first one, which is to do with people, it's a similar thing of like, well, I really am not interested what other people are doing in the sense of trying to understand it. Like I will not ask questions anymore. I just genuinely don't care about their intricate worlds. I do it astrologically. I do astrology readings. I'm an astrologer amongst other things, and that I love. But that's something very different. That's so different to this kind of curiosity I've been talking about. And it kind of, to me, it's not about curiosity at all. I don't know why. I'll have to think about that one. But it's absolutely not the same thing. Getting a client whose chart and reading is absolutely not a single sliver of shard or flavor or whatever of that curiosity that I talked about in this video. So what I want to suppose say, okay, this is a longer video, is that curiosity is just a step to yourself, in whatever form that is. Well, just knowing yourself and understanding yourself better. So when you reach that, arrive at that point where you are pretty sussed out, self-sussed out, right? It's never a done thing, obviously, but it's like, then you will not feel that curiosity, whether it's about other people or reading books on topics that you're interested in. I know I'm speaking from, like I say, from very retrograde planets type of chart, and obviously everyone's unique and whatever, but I'm sure many could relate to this, and would relate should they experience that lack of curiosity. Because I think ultimately we are the most fascinating pieces of puzzles to ourselves. And that's, I think, what many or most are not owning, because it's like, oh, I can't declare so much self-love and interest or self-fascination or self-obsession. And although I am probably more that way inclined than most, meaning I'm not the most average example of this, I still think on average we are all far more fascinated by ourselves than anyone else, and maybe not, like I say, to the extent that I am, but far more than I've seen people own. And and their curiosity is a way of comparing ourselves or learning about ourselves. And the moment so that's a kind of an expression of curiosity about yourself, even though you're expressing it as a curiosity for others or for books, topics, and whatever. When you stop, you can, I think you can feel pretty certain that you have arrived at a pretty comprehensive view of yourself, and that's something to feel good about. And I think that's it. This is a bit too long, but yeah, I hope this has provoked or has stimulated some good thinking.